In this video, you're going to learn how to record and put together a remote worship band or choir using just the gear that your team already has. With most churches unable or choosing not to meet in person during the ongoing pandemic, we've seen lots of really creative ways surface for congregations to still have an engaging and impactful worship service online. One of my favorites that I've come across is the group worship recordings, where everyone just records themselves playing their instrument from home, and then they combine it all together. So first, let's look at the gear you need to produce a remote band recording. And it might surprise you to learn that you don't need to drop thousands of dollars on recording equipment and video gear in order to get good results. In fact, what we would recommend is not investing in any gear and just use what you already have. The majority of your effort should be focused on capturing the highest quality audio that you can with the gear that you own. Most smartphones, particularly iPhones, actually have decent built-in microphones, and you can use those to capture just about everything you need, with the exception of maybe your bass guitar, so sorry bass players. If you want some more specific pointers for recording audio with your iPhone, then check out the video that we've linked in the description. It's from the Recording Revolution YouTube channel, where Graham Cochran actually records a full song using just his iPhone, and it sounds awesome. You do have a few good options when it comes to instruments like electric guitar and bass, and even keys. You can set up your phone to record audio from the amp or speakers, but that might prevent you from using its camera to film you play, depending on your setup. If you own an audio interface or even an iRig interface, then you can just record direct into your phone or your digital audio workstation, and even use built-in amps and effects in software to get the sounds that you want. For keys players, if you already have a software rig, then you shouldn't have any issues recording. In MainStage, it's as easy as hitting the record button in the top right corner. Drums will likely be the most challenging aspect to record, but again, keeping in mind that we're not striving for professional broadcast quality audio, I think you can still get very usable audio even just using your phone to record the drums. If you have some extra time to mix your recording, then you might add some kick and snare samples in your DAW throughout the song to complement the recorded drum audio. Again, if you do have access to an audio interface and two mics, then you should try to record the kick and an overhead, and that'll be a big jump forward from what you can capture using your phone's built-in mics and help reduce some of the room noise. Next, let's look at the audio recording and mixing process. This is likely the largest factor to consider with a remote band recording, because you can't just tell everyone to record themselves playing a song and then magically have it all perfectly match up. Now, you could have everyone play to the original recording, but even then, there can be lots of moments where there's no percussion or rhythm elements present in a song, so it can be easy to get out of sync. What we would recommend doing is create a click and cues scratch track that contains a metronome or a click sound at the correct tempo, and then cues of some sort. Then share that with everyone on your team. I like to use an acoustic and a vocal recording as a scratch track because it lets people know what part of the song they're at, and it also provides some rhythm and chord changes that they can follow along with the metronome. Recording a full song as a drummer or background vocalist might be a bit difficult if you only have a metronome to go off, so that's why I would recommend using a scratch track. If your band already plays with the click or tracks, then it shouldn't be much different than their regular practice. Now, if your band is new to using a click or metronome, one thing to add to your scratch track is some drums. We're going to get into recording software next, but if you're on a Mac and have Logic, then you already have access to lots of good drum samples and loops. You can even use the Logic Drummer to create a more organic drum track. Now, let's look at some different options for recording software, or DAWs. If you own a Mac, get Logic. Right now, the trial period for Logic Pro is 90 days, so that will at least get you through the summer. And since you are pre-recording songs, you can always use things you record now in future messages or streams. Logic Pro comes loaded with tons of instrument plugins, basses, drums, audio samples, and all the audio effects you need, including pitch correction if you need to clean up vocals and tune individual notes. If you're on a PC, then Ableton Live also has a 90-day free trial period right now. There are lots of great tutorials online that cover the ins and outs of using Logic and Ableton to record and mix, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about that process. If you are just starting out, Logic has some pre-made templates. For this scenario, I would try the Songwriter template. It has 5 tracks with effects and settings dialed in for drums, acoustic and electric guitar, vocals, and piano. To import audio from a video file, just go to File, Movie, Open Movie, select your file, and check the Extract the Audio Track option. Once you have everyone's audio recording, you can drop all those tracks in place and sync them up with the original scratch track. Once you have your audio synced and mixed to your liking, Then you can export it and bring it into video editing software for the last part of the process. Alright, so we covered gear and audio. Now let's look at how to capture and edit video. Remember, audio quality is the main focus, and as long as you have good audio, your video quality doesn't necessarily need to be as good. We already talked about using phones to capture video, so here's a few tips when doing so. Lighting is the most important aspect to get right. So try to record in a spot that has good light, like near a window, but try not to be in front of a window or a bright light, as that can cause you to look like a silhouette. In order to sync your videos, you need to shoot everything at the same frame rate. Most phones will have a setting that lets you choose 30 frames per second, so make sure that setting is checked. Now, one issue that's common to iPhones is audio drift. This is a noticeable audio and video desync that tends to show up in longer videos due to the iPhone's variable frame rate. To avoid this, you can use a third-party app called Movie Pro that lets you customize recording settings and enable 30 frames per second without audio drift. There are some helpful tutorials on YouTube that address audio drift with iPhone videos and how to fix it if you've already recorded your video and are noticing the drift. There are a few options for video editing software. If you're using a Mac, then I would recommend Final Cut Pro, as it has a very intuitive workflow and it's efficient on CPU resources. It also has a 90-day trial period that's going on right now. If you're on PC, then you might look at DaVinci Resolve. The non-studio version is free and it's very powerful, but it does have a bit of a learning curve. There are plenty of tutorials though on the download page that you can use to learn. Adobe Premiere is also a common editing software for Mac or PC, but it is subscription based and it requires a Creative Cloud license. Once you import your videos into the software, you can make cuts to show all the different team members as well as layer multiple videos to show everyone at once. Add in your mixed audio from Logic and sync it with the video and you're ready to export. That's gonna wrap it up for this video. I hope that you found it helpful and inspiring when it comes to recording your band, especially in a time like this. If you do have any questions about anything we talked about in this video, leave a comment below and we'd love to help out. And if you want to see a few examples of some remote worship recordings, I've linked those in the description.